Alright, hey guys, what's going on? It's Murderous Mondays here, and we are going to be talking about a serial killer in our season premiere first video. And as you can hear, there is scary music in the background. Thank you, what's his, YouTube channel Spooky Night for scary Halloween music, creepy music mix number one. It's 3 hours and 3 minutes long, but we're only gonna put it for however long it takes me to do this video. Alright, and it's probably gonna have ads, so let me just, so when it does, I'm just gonna skip them, alright? But, hey guys, what's up? On this channel, Murderous Mondays, I will be talking about hold on. And before we start, I was thinking about getting LED lights, either red or purple or blue or something, but I decided not to because it was I don't know where to get them and stuff. But anyway, hey guys. Anyway, let's get started. Hey guys, what's up? On this channel, Murderous Mondays, I will be talking about serial killers, and I will upload every Monday, hence the name. And the serial killer that I'll be talking about in my first video is Edmund Kemper. Ed Kemper. Who was he? What was his early life like? And why and how did he become so evil? I will answer that and more in this video as I take you down the perspective mind of a serial killer. Who was Edmund Kemper? Edmund Emil Kemper III was born on December 18th, 1948, and he is an American serial killer. He was also known as the co-ed killer. Author. He was known as the he was known as the co-ed killer. Yeah, and a couple of other ones, but we're going to just be talking about him as the co-ed killer. So, he murdered 10 people from May 1972 to April 1973. So that was only 11 months. That's not a long time. Years earlier, when he was just the tender young age of 15, he unalived his paternal grandparents. Kemper was nicknamed the co-ed killer, as most of his victims were female college students hitchhiking in the vicinity of the Santa Cruz County in California. Most of his murders included decapitation, necrophilia, and dismemberment. So, if you do not want to hear about that, I would suggest going off of this video and putting on something nicer. If not, then stay with me as I take you down to the journey of Edmund Kemper. He was found sane and guilty at his trial in 1973. And Kemper requested for the death penalty for all of his crimes, although capital punishment was suspended in California at the time, and instead he got 8 concurrent life sentences. Although he should have gotten 10 because, he murdered 10 people. Early life. What was his early life like? Ed Kemper was born in Burbank, California on December 18th, 1948, and he was the middle child of 3 kids. That's The middle child is always like the one to F up everything, right? I'm a middle child. Well, not by blood, but I'm a middle child. um, and was the only son to be born to Clarnell Elizabeth Kemper, 1921 to 1973, and Edmund M.L. Kemper Jr., which making him a third, 1919 to 1985. Edmund Jr. was a World War II veteran who, after the war, tested nuclear weapons at the Pacific Proving Grounds before returning back to California, where he worked as an electrician. Clarnell often complained about her husband's electrician job being mediocre or menial. When Kemper was born, Edmund Kemper, the serial killer, when he was born, he weighed an astonishing 13 pounds, which in not American, it's 5.9 kilograms. Because I watch all of like this like murder, like mystery murders and true crime and stuff, and it's all about like takes place in Canada, and they always say 5.9 kilograms or 13 pounds in America, whatever. Yeah. As a newborn, he would be he would be about a foot taller than his peers. Now, we talk about animal cruelty. So if you don't want to hear that, skip about 30 seconds. Okay, here we go. Early on, he exhibited antisocial behaviors and cruelty to animals. Just at the tender age of 10 years old, so still a young child at this point, he buried a cat alive, waited for it to die, probably from asphyxiation, so it was alive, then dug it up, decapitated it, and mounted it on a spike, which is like a pole. Kemper later stated that he derived pleasure about lying to his parents so much that at still a young age, at 13, he did it again when his younger sister Ellen Lee Kemper was playing with it. He chopped up the cat and kept it in his closet until until his mother found them and confronted her son. Kemper was known as having dark fantasies as a morbid imagination. In his youth, Kemper dismembered his younger sister's Alan's Barbie dolls. Kemper recalled that as a young boy he would sneak out of his house with his father's bayonet and would go to his second grade teacher's house and watch her through the window, which is stalking, another kind of stalking. Kemper also stated in interviews in his later life that some of his favorite games to play as a kid were Gas Chamber and Electric Chair, which aren't your typical games for a teenager. Well, for a kid, even. Which he asked his sisters to tie him up and flip an imaginary switch. He would then roll on the floor and twitch, pretending he was being executed by gas inhalation or electric shock. And he was a young kid at this time, remember that. Kemper also had a couple of near-death experiences as a child. Once, his older sister tried to push him in front of a train, which I think she has some issues too, but not as much as Kemper. Not as much as Ed. Another time, she pushed him in the deep end of a swimming pool, and he almost drowned because he did not know how to swim. Kemper had a close relationship with his father and was very devastated when they separated in 1957 and then later divorced in 1961. He was sent to live with his mother, Clarnell, in Helena, Montana. Kemper had severely dysfunctional relationship with his mother, who was now a big alcoholic, and she would belittle and abuse him. Clarnell made him sleep in the locked basement because she feared that he would harm her or her sisters. They daily mocked him for his height, being 6'4", or 1.93 meters, just at 15 years old, and he was deemed a real weirdo. She also refused to show him any affection in fear that it would turn him gay, and that told him that he reminded her of his father, and no woman would ever love him. Kemper later described her of being a sick, angry woman, and it was believed that she had the mother, had borderline personality disorder, so BPD. At the age of 14, Kemper ran away from home in an attempt to reconcile with his father in Van Nuys, California. I don't know how to say that. It's Nuys. Van Nuys, California. Once he was there, he learned that his father had been remarried and had a stepson. Kemper still stayed with his father for a bit until his father sent him to live with his paternal grandparents, which is where his first two murders come in. They lived on a ranch in the foothills of Sierra Nevada on the road on Road 224, mm, just about 2 miles west of the town of North Fork. Kemper hated living in North Fork. He described his grandfather as senile and that his grandmother was constantly emasculating me and my grandfather, which meaning the that she would that she would basically like degrade him of his manlyhood. First murders, well, of a human, because remember he murdered a cat and then another cat. So on August 27th, 1964, at 15 years old, so he's only a teenager at this time, Kemper was sitting at the kitchen table. Now, Kemper, I'm going to be talking both as Edmund Kemper, Ed Kemper, and Kemper. So, just to let you know, those are the same person. So, Kemper was sitting at the kitchen table with his grandmother, Maud, or Matilda Huey Kemper, born in 1897. When they had an argument, Kemper stormed off and retrieved a rifle that his grandfather had given him for hunting. He then re-entered the kitchen and fatally shot her in the head and fired two more in her back. His grandmother's last words were reportedly, "Oh, you better not be shooting those birds again." Just imagine the fear that she had. She thought she was shooting. He thought that he was shooting the birds, but instead he shot and killed her. Or I don't think she really had any fear because she wasn't thinking that he would actually kill her. He just committed his first real murder. Some accounts mention that he also suffered. That she also suffered multiple post-mortem stab wounds with a kitchen knife. Now you might be saying, where is the grandfather in all this? Well, It turns out to be that he was buying groceries, so he wasn't even home. He was out. When Kemper's grandfather, who had the same name, Edmund M.L. Kemper Sr., which that he's the third, basically, the grandson, born in 1892, he came back from shopping. He was fatally shot in the driveway next to his car. He was unsure what to do next, so he called his grandmother. Wait, so he called his mother, sorry. He called his mother, Clarnell, and she phoned the police. After his arrest, he said that he just wanted to see what it felt like to kill his grandmother. He later said that he killed his grandfather so that he wouldn't have to find out that his wife was dead because he would be mad at him. Psychiatric Donald Lund would who interviewed Kemper during adulthood, wrote, in a way, he had avenged the rejection of both his mother and father. Kemper's crimes were deemed incomprehensible for a 15-year-old, remember he's still 15, to commit, and court psychiatrists diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia. Now, my uncle has paranoid schizophrenia, but and delusions of grandeur, but he doesn't. He's not a risk factor, although he's been in mental hospitals before. He was sent to at Scadero State Hospital in California, a maximum security facility in St. Louis, California. Yeah, Obispo County that houses mentally ill convicts. Now, imprisonment at at now at a Sacadero, California, Youth Authority, psychiatrists, and social workers disagreed with the court psychiatrists' diagnosis. Their report stated that Kemper showed no flight of ideas, no interference with no expression of delusions or hallucinations, and no evidence of bizarre thinking. They also observed him with to be intelligent and introspective. Initial testings measured his IQ of 136 over 2 standard deviations above average. Kemper was re-diagnosed with a less severe condition of personality trait disturbance, passive-aggressive type. Later on in his time at Ascadero, he was given another IQ test, which gave him a higher result of 145. So there is a like like a domino effect of serial killers. Most of them have high IQs. Kemper endeared himself. Excuse me. Alright, Kemper endeared himself to his psychiatrists by being a model prisoner, and he was trained to administer psychiatric testing to other inmates. A psychiatric later said he was very good worker. He was a very good worker, and this is not a typical for a sociopath. And he really took pride in his work. Kemper also became a member of the Jaycees while while in Atascadero and claimed to have developed some new tests and some inventory, specifically an overt hostility scale. During his work at Atascadero Psyche, wait, yeah, yeah, member of the JCs while in Atascadero and claimed to have developed some new tests and some new scales on the Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory, specifically an overt hostility scale. During his work at Atascadero Psychiatrics, JC's is a worldwide community of young active citizens at ages 18 to 40 who share the belief that in order to create positive change, okay? After his second arrest, Kemper said that being able to understand how these tests functioned allowed him to manipulate his psychiatrics, admitting that he learned a lot from sex offenders to whom he'd administered tests to. Excuse me. Now, next chapter. Release and time between murders. On December 18th, 1969, on his 21st birthday, Kemper was released back into the care of his mother, Clarnell, who previously remarried and took the surname of Strandberg, and later got divorced again. All right, Clarnell then resided in Aptos, California, a short drive from where she worked as an administrative assistant at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Kemper later demonstrated further to his psychiatrics that he was rehabilitated on November 29th, 1972, his juvenile records were permanently removed while staying with his mother. Kemper attended community college, so the same college, I think, that his mother worked at, in agreement with his parole requirements, and had hoped to become a police officer, but was rejected due to his size. At the time, he stood 6 foot 9 inches tall, or 2.6 meters tall, which led to another nickname, Big Ed Kemper. Kemper maintained relationships with the Santa Cruz police officers, despite his rejection from joining the force. He was he was described as a friendly nuisance at a bar called the Jury Room, and and a popular hangout for local cops. Kemper worked on some menial jobs before working with the state California Division Highways. During this time, his relationship with his mother remained toxic and hostile, and they would usually get into fights that their neighbors overheard. When he had saved enough money, Kemper moved out to live with a friend in Alameda, whatever, California. While there, he still complained of being unable to get away from his mother. because she would regularly phone him and give him surprise visits, which I think he would feel embarrassed by. He he'd often had financial duties, no, difficulties, which had resulted in him going back to living with his mother. Kemper, who at this time was in his early 20s, he met a female student from Turlock High School at a Santa Cruz beach, and the two of them got engaged of March 1973. He literally got engaged. He was set to be married on March of 1973. Although their engagement lasted over a year, but broke it up, they broke it off due to Kemper's second arrest, and her parents requested her name not to be revealed in the public because she was apparently only 17, still a minor at this point, and still attending high school at the time. The same year that he began working for the Highway Division, Kemper got struck by a car while riding a motorcycle that he had recently purchased. His arm was badly injured during the crash, and he received a whopping 15,000 settlements in the civil suit, and he filed against the driver 15,000, which is equivalent to about 100,000 in today's time. Well, basically like 98,700 and something. I just rounded to 100,000. As he was driving around in his 1969 Ford Galaxy that he'd purchased with part of the settlement money, he noticed a large number of young, vulnerable women hitchhiking and began to store plastic bags, knives, blankets, and handcuffs in his car. According to Kemper, he'd pick up about he picked up about 150 young women hitchhiking in the area. His saying was, when he picked up the hitchhikers, his saying was, "I don't got all day," meaning meaning like another reason why they shouldn't have came in there in the first place. So he picked up about 150 women hitchhiking in the area, but this was before he felt homicidal and sexual urges, and later began acting on those urges, and at times would even blame the women he killed for hitchhiking. Later murders. Between May of 1972 to April 1973, Kemper had killed 8 people. He would pick up the female students that were hitchhiking and then take them to a secluded area, which where he would shoot, stab, smother, and strangle the 4 S's, his victims. He then would take their lifeless bodies and bring them back to his house, where he would decapitate them and performed irrematio to several of the heads. Several of the heads. He also had sexual intercourse and dismembered them. Oh, he also performed necrophilia on them too. Irrematio mainly means putting the penis of one's in the dead person's mouth, so to speak. Flammatio means doing it with their consent and they're actually having control of it. The person having control of it, but they're dead. So that's why it's irrematio. During his 11th month, during his 11-month killing spree, he killed 5 college students, one high school student, and his mother, his mother and her, and even his mother and her friend, which is why his mother died in 1973. At the early, at the what I said in the beginning of the video. Kemper has stated Kemper has stated in interviews that he often searched for his victims after having arguments with his mother, and that she refused to introduce him to the women attending the university that she worked at. Psychiatrics and Kemper himself had attached his belief that the young women were replacements for his ultimate target, being his mother. Mary Ann. Okay, wait. Now we go to the murders. Mary Ann Pesci and Anita Lucchesa murders. On May 7th, 1972, Kemper was driving in Berkeley, where he picked up 2 18-year-old hitchhikers who were from Fresno State University, Mary Ann Pesci and Anita Lucchesa. After driving for an hour, he managed to reach a secluded wooded area near Alameda, which was a familiar which he was familiar with from his days working in the highway development. Without alert without alerting them that he changed directions. It was there that he handcuffed Pesci and Anita, and he stabbed and strangled both of them to death. He then he said he chose these women because they seemed upper middle class, and not your messy hippie teen hitchhikers. Kemper put both of their lifeless bodies in the trunk of his Ford Galaxy and returned to his apartment. He was stopped on the way because he had a broken taillight, but the officers did not detect the corpses in the trunk. Kemper's roommate wasn't home at the time, so he took the bodies into his apartment, where he would photographed and had sexual intercourse before dismembering them, had erematio on them, and necrophilia. He then put he then put their bodies in plastic bags, where he would later abandon near Loma Prieta Mountains. Kemper then disposed their severed heads in a ravine, and Kemper performed erematio on them both. In August of that year, Pesci's skull was found on Loma Prieta Mountain, but an extensive search failed to turn up the remains of both of the other body parts of both of them. Alright. Now the next murder. Akio-ku murder. On the evening of September 14th, 1972, Kemper picked up a 15-year-old dance student named Akio-ku, who decided to hitchhike to dance class after missing her bus, which would be the biggest mistake of her life. He again drove to a remote area where he pulled a gun on her before accidentally locking himself out of his car. Back inside the car, he proceeded to choke. Wait. He again drove to a remote area where he pulled out a gun on her. Yeah, before accidentally locking himself out of his car. But I guess he got back inside the car and proceeded to choke her unconsciously, rape, and eventually killed her. Then Kemper packed her lifeless body in the trunk and went to a nearby bar to have a few drinks to drown out his sorrows of his murderous victims that he just killed. Before returning back to his apartment. Back at his apartment, he committed necrophilia and then dismembered and disposed her body parts in a similar manner in his other murders. Her mother called the police to report her daughter's disappearance and put up hundreds of flyers asking for any information, but she did not receive any disclosure or responses. Cindy shall murder. She should murder? Cindy shall murder. On January 7th, 1973, 1973, hold on. At this point, wait, hold on January 7th, 1973, at this point, Kemper had moved back into his mother's house and was driving around Cabrillo College campus where he picked up an 18-year-old student, Cynthia Ann, aka Cynthia Shaw. He drove to a wooded area and fatally shot her with a .22 caliber pistol. He then placed her lifeless body in the trunk, which he would do multiple times, like his other victims, and drove to his mother's house and kept the body in his closet overnight. When his mother left for work in the morning, he had sexual intercourse and had removed the bullet from Shao's corpse and decapitated and dismembered her in his mother's bathtub. He took out the bullet so that they couldn't trace the bullet to the .22 caliber pistol. Alright. Kemper kept Shao's severed head days after and regularly performed irrimatio, which with it, and buried it in his mother's garden facing upwards towards her bedroom. He discarded the rest of Cindy's remains by throwing them off a cliff. Over the course of the following few weeks, all except Cindy's head and right hand were discovered and pieced together like a macabre jigsaw puzzle. A pathologist determined that Cindy also had been cut into pieces with a buzzsaw. Now Rosalind Thorpe and Allison Liu murders. On February 5th, 1973, after another heated argument with his mother, Kemper left his house in search for more victims, with heightened suspicions of a serial killer preying on hitchhikers in the Santa Cruz area. Students have been advised only to accept rides from cars with university stickers on them. But that would not be a problem for Kemper because remember, his mother worked at UC USC, University of Santa Cruz, California. And so he was able to retain a sticker and put it on his car. He encountered 23-year-old Rosalind Heather Thorpe and 20-year-old Allison Helen, aka Alice Helen, aka Allison Liu, on the UCSC campus, the University of Santa Cruz, California. According to Kemper, Thorpe entered the car first and then reassured Liu to do the same. He fatally shot them both with his pistol, probably the caliber .22 pistol, and then wrapped their lifeless bodies in blankets. Kemper again brought his victims back to his mother's house, or like a cat with a mouse. But this time he beheaded them in his car first, and then brought their lifeless bodies in the house to have sexual intercourse with them. He dismembered the bodies and removed the bullets to prevent identification, and discarded the remains in the morning, just like Cindy Shaw's murder. Some remains were found at Eden Canyon a week later, and some more were found near Route 1 in March. He questioned in an interview as to why he decapitated his victims, and he explained that the head trip fantasies were a bit like a trophy. You know, the head is where everything's at. The brain, the eyes, the mouth. I remember being told as a kid, you cut off the head and the body dies. Alright, now his own mother, Clarnell Kemper Strandberg, and Sally Hallett, who was her friend, both got murdered by her son. On April 20th, 420, man, 1973, Kemper was woken up by his mother, Clarnell, coming home late from a party. He waited for his mother to fall asleep and snuck in her bedroom with a claw hammer and bludgeoned her to death, and then slit her throat with a penknife. Kemper then beheaded her and humiliated her corpse. As stated in a 1984 interview, he then put her head on a shelf and screamed at it for about an hour, and then threw darts at it, smashing her face in. He also cut out her tongue and larynx and put it in the garbage disposal. However, the garbage disposal could not break down because of the tough vocal cords and spat the tissue back up in the sink. But Kemper hid his mother's dismembered corpse in the closet and went out for a drink again at a nearby bar. Upon his return, he invited his mother's best friend, 59-year-old Sarah Taylor, aka Sally Hallett, over the house just for dinner and casually watch a movie, not knowing what his really intentions, not knowing what was really in store for her and what his real intentions were. When Sally arrived, Kemper strangled her to death and subsequently put her corpse in a closet and removed any outward disturbances and wrote a note on the police, and it read, approximately 5:15 a.m. Saturday. No need to suffer anymore at the hands of this horrible, murderous butcher, where he would also be known as the murderous butcher. It was quick, asleep, the way I wanted it. Not sloppy or incomplete, just lack of time. I got things to do. And after the letter He fled the scene and drove nonstop to Pueblo, Colorado, taking caffeine pills to stay awake for the full drive of over 1,000 miles, about 1,600 kilometers journey. He had 3 guns and hundreds of rounds of ammunition in his car and believed that he was the target of a manhunt. After not hearing any news on the radio about the murders of his mother and Sally Hallett, he stopped at a phone booth in Pueblo and called the police and confessed, but the police officer did not take him seriously. Police officer did not take him seriously, which which I don't know why. Called seriously and told him to call back at another time. Several hours later, Kemper called them back and asked to speak to an officer that he confessed to an officer of killing. Wait, hold on. Several hours later, to call back and asked to speak. Several hours later, Kemper called back and asked to speak to an officer that he personally knew from his days of the police authority, I guess, of being a police officer, I guess, that he personally knew, or being in the force with, because remember, he was not able to work as the police officer because of his size. He later confessed to that officer of killing his mother and her friend Sally Hallett, and then waited for a police to arrive to take him into custody. About wait, upon his capture, he also confessed to the murders of 6 students. Kemper was asked in a later interview why he turned himself in, and he said the original purpose was gone, and it wasn't serving any physical or emotional purpose. It was just a pure waste of time, and emotionally, I couldn't handle it much longer. Toward the end, there, I started feeling the folly, which I don't know what that means, of the whole damn thing, and at the point of near exhaustion, near collapse, I said, to the hell of it, and I called it off. Alright, now, the trial, the last chapter of our story tonight. The last chapter, the trial. On May 7th, 1973, Kemper was sentenced to 8 counts of first-degree murder, even though he killed 10 people. He was assigned the Chief Public Defender of Santa Cruz County, Jim Jackson, due to Kemper's explicit and detailed confession of his counsel's only option was to plead not guilty, reasoned by insanity. Kemper tried to commit suicide twice while in custody, but failed. And his trial went ahead on October 23rd, 1973. 3 court-appointed psychiatrists found Kemper to be legally sane. One of his psychiatrists, Dr. Joel Fort, investigated his juvenile records. At the diagnosis that he was once psychotic, but not anymore. Fort also interviewed Kemper under truth serum, which means like a lie detector test, and relayed to the court that Kemper had engaged in cannibalism, alleging that he sliced flesh off the legs of his victims, then cooked and consumed the flesh in like a casserole. Well, nevertheless, Fort determined that Kemper was fully capable of each case, and stated that Kemper enjoyed the prospect of the infamy associated with him labeled as a murderer. Kemper later revoked the confession of cannibalism. California used the Mignatin standard, which held that for a defendant to establish a defense on the ground of insanity, it must be clearly proved that at the time of committing the act of the party accused was laboring under such a defect of reason from disease of mind and not knowing the nature of his of quality and the act that he was committing, or if he did know, he didn't know it was wrong, or if he didn't know, or if he didn't know it was wrong. Kemper appeared to know out to signs of signs of the nature of his acts was wrong and shows signs of malice of afterthought. Mignatin standard is basically a legal test defining the definance a legal test defining the defense of insanity and malice and malice afterthought means the conscience to cause great harm or death to another person before they commit the crime. On on November 1st, 1973, Kemper took the stand. He testified that he killed his victims because he killed his victims because he wanted them for himself like possessions, and attempted to convince the jury that he was insane, based on the reasoning that his actions could have been committed only by someone with an aberrant or crazy mind. He stated that two beings entered his body, and that's when the killer personality took over. He kind of blacked out, he said. And on November 8th, 1973, the 6 men and 6 women jury deliberated for 5 hours before declaring Kemper sane and guilty of all counts of murder. He asked for the death penalty, requesting death by torture. However, with a moratorium placed on capital punishment, why the Supreme Court of California, he instead received 7 years to life for each count for them, and for them to be served concurrently, and was sentenced to wait. So wait, yeah. So 56, 8 times 6, 56. Yeah. So literally, it was literally eligible after 56 years to to get parole, but I don't think he would be getting paroled out easily. I think the 56 years already came. Wait, no, I think he has a couple more years. Yeah, 73. Yeah, yeah, 2023. Yeah, that's 50. So yeah, he has about 2059 if he lives that long. To 2059, if he lives that long, he'll be eligible for parole, I think. But I don't think he'll get it. And he was sentenced to the California Medical Facility in Vacaville. So, not even a jail or prison, a medical facility. And I guess it was kind of a Vacaville. Get it? A moratorium means a delay or a suspension of an activity or a law. They said that he had 8 life sentences, But I think that he should have gotten 10 because remember, in the beginning of the story, he murdered both his paternal grandparents. And he should have also gotten some time in jail for killing the two cats. Alright, um, uh, I can't, so, I know this video was a little long. It's over 55 minutes. If you stayed with me, I thank you. Um, we cannot forget the victims in this case. First, well, I'm not gonna talk about the cats because I don't know about the cats. His paternal grandparents. Um, right, yeah, his paternal grandparents, Matilda Maud Huey, and his grandfather, Edmund Emil Senior, Kemper Senior. Um, Mary Ann Pesci and and Anita Luchessa, Akio Ku, Cindy Shaw, Rosalind Thorpe, and Allison Liu, and even Clarnell, his own mother, and Sally Hallett, her best friend. And I think this was one of, I don't know if you can see it, but it's one of, that was one of Kemper's mugshots. I think that was, Akio Kill. No, hold on. No. No, wait, that's either Rosalind Thorpe or Allison Liu. Uh, um, that's Akio. But I can't. I know it's really hard to say because I don't know how to edit. So that was either. I think that's Anita Luchessa, and I couldn't find the other pictures for. Yeah. So the reason why it's also dark is because I am trying to make it like I'm trying to like set the scene. Um, so I know this video wasn't too good, but it's my first video. Not editing. So please like, comment, subscribe to Murders Mondays and my other videos. I mean my other channels. The Wrestling King 619, and I'll catch you guys on this channel next Monday with another serial killer. And I'll give you a hint. He, well, don't look it up, but I'll give you a hint. He murdered, he went on a killing spree. He murdered 5 people just in August of 1990 and was dead by lethal injection. Um, in 2006. 2006 or something. I don't want to, yeah, 2006. Alright, so, keep that hints in mind, and write it down in the comments if it allows you to comment it. I don't know why it doesn't really allow you to comment, but if it does, write it down in the comments what you think. Um, Killed 5 people in the space of couple days, August of 1990, and he got killed by lethal injection in 2006. Catch you guys in my next video. Peace. This video is over an hour long, so thank you if you stayed with me. Come on, how do you stop the video?